challenge for last week, or one of the focuses of last week's video, which was fears that are coming up, or fears that are kind of dealing with as we grow in this area, and change our mindsets and take our thoughts into the higher, newer thoughts that we're taking ourselves into. Testimonies of if people have overcome fears, or what they've been doing to overcome some of those fears. Anybody, would anybody like to share? If you would like to, if anything comes to mind, this is your time to unmute and let everybody know what's been going on with you. In the meantime, I'll share something that's been going on for me. Some of you would know, there's some others that may not know. We've got a bunch of different people here, but I've personally been overcoming fear of procrastination, and also perfectionism to some degree. I've got a house here that I rent out rooms, and so I've been doing some renovations and cleaning things up and getting my property ready in different ways to be able to receive some new tenants. And there's been a lot of work to do, a lot of stuff to get done amongst all the other things going on in life. And so a big focus for me is going, okay, not allowing procrastination to get in the way, and not allowing perfectionism to get in the way, so I can just get stuck in and start to get some of these jobs done. And I shared with some people on Sunday, but I have had another success, which is that I've got a lady moving in tomorrow. I spoke about that on Sunday, saying that she was to move in, and we had the final meeting today, did some paperwork, and so that's a full thumbs up ahead. So that's a bit of a testimony from me, what's been going on in my life and some of my journey. And want to hear from some others about some fears that they've either been overcoming, or even fears that have been kind of coming up and being challenged with, and you might want to share with the group for a sense of accountability or something. Anybody? Anybody at all? Don't all jump in at once.
Okay. I might share. So one of the things that I guess used to be a fear for me, which I believe I am slowly overcoming, is a fear of failure. So, never stepping out to do certain things because you're worried about whether it'll happen or not, and whether it'll work or not. But with having come for the wealth creation sessions that we've been having, and just overall lots of other things that I've been looking at in my life, I guess it's come to a place where I'm willing to have a go, and I look at them as stepping stones of learning rather than places where I could fail. Because there are some things that I've put my hand to and it hasn't really worked out the way I'd like it to, but now it's no longer, oh my gosh, that failed, but it's what have I learned from that, and then transferring that into the next thing that I do. So I'm not allowing it to stop me from stepping out. So that's been one of my good stories, something that's really helped. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Rebecca. Definitely, fear of failure is pretty massive. I don't think there's just about anyone on planet Earth that doesn't struggle with that to some degree. So that's definitely something we can all take from your book, and a page from your book, and receive that. Awesome. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker tonight, Mr. Rueben Sarvananthan. He's going to be sharing and teaching with us all about, again, practical ways and all of the kind of mental strategies on how we can overcome fear, and how we can stop that from getting in the way of us living out of our fullness, creating wealth, and living in purpose, creating freedom for ourselves and our families. So without further ado, Rueben, over to you. Thanks very much.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Nathan. You've done a great job, guys. Can we just give Nathan a big 777 in the chat group? It takes courage to be up there on stage, if you like, on Zoom, and just be able to, encourage you guys. And especially when you ask a question and no one answers, or it takes time for someone to hit the unmute button. So well done, Nathan. Thank you. Let's see lots of 777s. There's 15 of us here. And we want to see that happen. Guys, if there's anyone that you've invited or think need to listen to this information, please grab a hold of them, tell them to jump in. The value of what we are hearing people saying that they're getting from this is exciting and excellent. I'm really happy that everyone's jumped in and continues to jump in. And how many of you have put a 555? Then look, you don't have to, it's not to impress me in any way, it's to help the journey. Have found this certainly found this helpful in as you've joined in here, and especially last week when we talked about fears. If you found that helpful, put a 555 in. Today you're going to have another word. Last week we looked at how to get rid of how to overcome the F word. Today we're going to look at how to build building the F word with B. So you're going to have fun with that. So Nathan, thank you for sharing. Pastor Rubika, thank you for sharing. Are you guys ready? Hopefully got some notes. We dived a little bit deep last week, and I want to get a bit deeper on this. So I'm going to just share my screen and get started. I know I threw a lot of stuff out at you last week, and this week I want to dissect it a little bit more and add a little bit more to it as well. Great to see people on. And guys, if you're here for the first time, if anyone's here for the first time, could you put a 111 in the chat group just so that we know you're here for the first time and welcome you. And could the person who's come in as Zoom user maybe tell us your name? We'll change it over so that we just know who to call you by. And if you're not in another country and you have good signal, could you please turn your camera on? Why? Because it helps with knowing each other as a community. Secondly, I'm really want to say congratulate those who have been dressing up as we've come to the program, because that's something that one of the things that Emolium really encourages to do. And I think it really does help. It does make a difference. I mean, I feel good looking on the screen like this because I look better, right? How many of you think so too? I should get someone to put a triple something in there. So no newcomers here. Great. So that means as much as we want to welcome those who've been here before, if we don't have newcomers, that helps just connect from last week's program onwards as well. Awesome, guys. Let's get started. Now, I remember I'm not all about just content. Content is great, but I'm big on how does content translate to practical, all right? So as much as I want to give you new content every week, I also want to really hone in on some of the stuff that we've talked about. And Nathan, you've done a great job on just reminding us about the fears and your testimonial as well. And we talked about, we're doing this series in the Dreaming series. It's like a mini series on the next step in freedom. Not the next step to freedom, but in freedom. You guys all are good with that? So if you can put in the chat group the word in, because I am in freedom already and I want to continue the next step in freedom. That's really important, right? As opposed to I'm getting to freedom, because that'll make a big difference in your mind. So guys, if you can turn cameras on, please do, unless you're driving or in a position where you can't. And if today you're not in a position to turn the camera on, please next week remember to, because that's really important for us to see each other as a community. Okay, remember we are eagles that fly together. We are lions that hunt together. We have found our tribe, and a tribe needs to see each other because trust is going to be built as we go. We're in July. We've got these 6 months where something incredible is now we're stepping into. A lot of you here, when you journeyed with me from the beginning in January, came in going, what's this all about? And now I see that formation, that things that are happening that are really crystallizing. Some of you joined in later on. Like, it's really great to see Joanne. Good to see you on. Welcome to Alice, I think. Sandy, good to see you on. You're one of our oldies who've been on for a while. Philomena, I think you're fairly new here. And so those who've jumped in afterwards, Really want to get you guys into the place where we are connecting and moving as well. We've had April and Nathan joining kind of halfway through that time, and then the rest of you being here since January. So you will not miss out on anything, but what we're doing is getting to know each other. So as much as possible, if you can turn on your cameras, and from now on we start doing that, that'll be really great for the next step. And thank you to those who have as well. Last week we talked about some, I'm just going to go through some quick slides because I really think you need to get that back into your mind. Are you just living life, or are you consciously designing your destiny? Okay, and please feel free to take screenshots, and I'd love it for you guys to put it into our atmosphere, into our wealth creation group, and really encourage things that stand out to you, that jump out to you as well. This is really important because I want you to learn to design your destiny. And if you are ready to design your destiny, please put a DD in the chat group, because remember, this is not just teaching, this is interactive mentoring and coaching, so that it helps us really move forward on things. Hyacinth, good to see you here, son. I really love the fact that Hyacinth jumps in and is learning from this as well. And he's being challenged to invite his friends, and it's hard for him sometimes because they're not interested. But I really love that he does that, and I want to encourage you guys to invite others, because how many 16-year-olds would come here, and would you think they would benefit from this? I think a lot would, right? But Hyacinth, well done for coming in as a 16-year-old and being willing to challenge yourself and change, because imagine Hyacinth doing it at this age, what he'll be like when he gets to my age or some of your ages, right? Younger or older. So DD, if you're designing your destiny rather than just living life, put a DD in the chat group. Next thing I wanted to challenge you guys with last week that I spoke about is, what do you do what you do in the now will impact others today and generations tomorrow. So don't think, hey, Joanne, thank you for turning on your camera. Oh, you turned it off again, but we'll get to see your beautiful face again. And thank you guys for doing that and being part of this. What you do in the now will impact others today and generations tomorrow. Can you live with your choices? Because no man is an island. In other words, guys, this is really powerful to understand. Your choices impact not just you, but others as well. Okay? My choice to want to work from home has impacted my family. My choice to want to homeschool my family and some of my children have impacted the community. Like today, one of our neighbors came and dropped his son over during school holidays to study with us, because our children, they don't have a certain time that they have holidays. They're always learning, but they don't have to go to school from 9 to 5 every day or 9 to 3 every day, right? It's exciting how what the choices I have made are impacting others. What are you willing to make choices that you're willing to live with? Okay. We talked about last week, what downloads, great ideas, amazing dreams, groundbreaking inventions and innovations do you have captured in your imagination and subconscious today? And that's what I want to pull out. So we talked about the F word last week. We're going to talk about the F to C this week, which is hopefully some of you are going to F to B, sorry, not F to C. And it's going to be very exciting. Are you ready to unlock the next step in your freedom, which is to pull out subconsciously the dreams, the ideas, the innovations that you have, and then find vehicles to produce it? Like, I don't know about you, but when I started recognizing ideas and dreams, I started having sometimes up to 50 ideas in a week. Anyone else been like that? And if you are, pop it in the chat group. And then I started, as I was going on, because I had no clue. I was in my 20s then, and I had no clue how to get them to happen. And then all of a sudden, we're watching TV or a program or something. I'd be like, oh, that's my idea. I thought of that idea, but someone else has done it. Okay. And sometimes I'd feel really down. But the reason was because I hadn't found my purpose. And once I clicked into my purpose, I still took those ideas, but now I'm excited because I get to share them with others, and maybe someone else runs with that idea. Someone else goes with that idea, or I'll find some resources where I don't have to do it on my own. All right. Anyone connecting with that? And if you are, please let us know in the chat group as well. I still certainly look like I'm in my 20s. Thank you, buddy. So the biggest enemy is the fear of failing. We talked about that. The biggest enemy of our dreams, of our desires, of our thoughts is the fear of failing. And, I love this statement. I want you guys stay muted, sorry, because otherwise it'll sound all funny. But I want you to speak this out to yourself loud enough to scare yourself. Sometimes we got to scare ourselves out of our fears. Okay, let's go. Let's speak this together. Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small dares not serve the world. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own consciousness, our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. How many of you are willing to say this every morning to yourself and go, I am beyond fear? I want you to put a yes or no in the chat group. I want you to, how many of you are willing to look at this and go, I can agree with this statement, but I want to come into a lifestyle of agreement in this as well. All right. So we talked last week about overcoming the F word. The F word is a fear word. We looked at understanding fear, cognitive structures, behavioral techniques, and emotional regulation. And again, if you missed any of this, please go to the recordings. They're both on the Telegram group. Thank you to our brother Emmanuel, great leadership guys and ownership from each of you guys as you're helping in different aspects of this. Because I tell you what, this is going to become an academy soon. April's been really encouraging me to say, hey, we got to get this into an academy basis that's going to help a lot of other people. And I said, yes, but I want you guys to take this and I want you guys to run and have fruit and share things that you can run from, because we don't want to miss. It's no use having a university without the personal relationship. So how do you have something that has both? Because that's the way we will change. All right. And so we're creating some ideas around this. So go look at the recordings. It's also on YouTube. We looked at lifestyle and mindset adjustments and practical steps and that you can take to overcome the F word, the fear word, and reflect and adapt as well. Okay. I want to stop there and just ask a few people maybe to unmute, maybe two people to unmute and say what from these. I know Nathan did a great job in asking, but some of you might need a prompting. What of these did you pull out from last week that you challenged yourself with to try and consciously make a decision to work from? And so Pastor Rubika's already shared one, and Nathan shared one. What about others? And please feel free to unmute right now and just share what's something that you feel like, yeah, I've overcome. I've been able to identify the fear or understand the roots, acknowledge the fear. I've challenged my thoughts. I've reframed the fear. I've been mindful and more meditative about how I can overcome the fear.
Hi, Rueben.
Hello, young lady. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
It's good, everyone. This is Joanne. Please say hi to Joanne by putting a 333 in the chat group. Send her some love. Yes, Joanne, go for it.
Well, my challenge was trying last week, and actually even this week, not trying, making a conscious effort, a very conscious effort to reprogram my negative thinking in certain areas of life, which has been challenging, but there was a fear behind it because it seemed to always, whatever the negative thought would come to fruition. It didn't come at the start, but it's kind of like does happen. So it's just changing, being very conscious and very mindful of catching those thoughts that sneak up on you, and being diligent in reprogramming your mindset and observing what your thought patterns are and how to actually conquer it.
Wow.
You were saying last time about my fear of driving. So that's all to do with your mental thought pattern. So that was one of the challenging things for me that I try very diligently to focus, to center, and to change the pattern of thinking. So that was that because the fear is the fear of that was when I have the negative thinking. That's my fear of negative thinking constantly. So trying to be diligent and changing is actually help, trying to stop the thoughts from happening, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep.
Catching them at the start of like, oh, what if? I'm like, hang on a second. Why am I thinking that? What's the reason? So I question myself. I keep questioning why do you need to think that way? So how can I overcome this? So what is the solution for this? How would I change that negative narrative to something positive, which I've done? So I'm changing to something from negative to positive. It's not easy. It takes a bit of time. It's mentally draining because you got like over 7,000 thoughts a day that you have, 770,000 thoughts a day that go through your brain.
Especially for women, yes, it's much more than the men.
Yes, it is. We do. We have a lot, but it's just like catching those, right? And knowing, talking to myself and saying that, you know what? No, this is not you. This is what you should be doing. This is how you should see life in certain areas. But it's still a process to go. But it's actually a good process.
Amazing.
You know? So yeah.
Thank you, Joanne. That's amazing. I think the key point there is catching your thought. And I think that's something that would help others as well. Is catching your thoughts as they come in. And I think a lot of times we've been conditioned to say, don't think bad thoughts, rather than when a bad thought comes, be willing to grab it, catch it, and flick the channel.
Exactly.
And do that often enough, you create a new habit.
Yeah, switching the narrative. And sometimes those thoughts are just been so in our subconscious mind for so long, it just plays on autoplay, like autoplay. So it's actually catching them, rewiring them, and getting rid of them, or changing it to something positive.
Beautiful. Guys, can we give Joanne a thank you with a 555 in the chat group, because that's really good. Thank you for sharing that, Joanne. And just that maybe you've caught something from it as we've talked. One more person, what's something from last week that you could say you've become aware of, or you've applied? Could be from this 4 or these other side of the lifestyle, the lifestyle mindset adjustments, practical steps, reflecting and adopting. One more person want to just share what they've been able to be aware of, because again, we celebrate those things.
Rueben, just go back to the previous page, can you?
I can do that. This one here. Yep.
So I think for me, it's been trying to reframe the fear and see it from the different perspective, instead of seeing it as a threat, considering it as an opportunity for growth.
Wow.
So I have tried to do that at other times too in the past, and then I get out of the habit of it. That's always been something that I've tried to keep up, but it's never been something I've been able to sustain. So yes, for me, that is a really important thing to do, to be able to just stop in the midst of it and reconsider what it actually is and turn it around.
Beautiful. I love that. Very similar to what Joanne said about reframing the fear, so that, catching that thought, the channel. And one of the things that are important, guys, is to keep in mind that sometimes if we don't reframe something, then we're trying to stop something without replacing it with something else. And so to be able to reframe is very good. I know I spent a lot of years, and Papa Luke has been a huge support for me on this, with kingdom mindsets and just his character, for those who know him, of always seeing the positive side of everything. And when I first met him, I would come back home and think, how does he manage to flip everything into his positiveness? And I asked him one day, and he said, I'm not trying to flip it. That's all I see. It was so amazing. And I loved that. And I began to realize that we can live from that perspective, but it took some time, right? Because it's a new habit. It's a new thing. But so every time I had a negative habit, so remember, Hyson, we're talking about this today. The moment I ask you to do something, your default is, I can't, not possible. They're not going to respond. Right. And I said, as soon as we say that, we've already manifested that, right? Because as a man thinks in his heart, which is our minds, so he is. And I said, what if we change that to seeing the positive in things that are happening and seeing the positive in something that's happening? Like Rubika and I just have on one of our chat groups where we're creating something, some conversation that shouldn't, that it's detrimental. But my thought now is like, that's nothing to do with me. I can respond to it. I don't have to react to it. Right. And I can make some, and so that behavioral change will make a big difference in our lives. So thank you guys for sharing. Margaret, thank you for sharing that. And I love that, Margaret, especially to see your journey where you're reframing. But how good is it to be around a tribe of people, guys, that are thinking similar? That helps a lot. If you're around people who are always negative, I was around a group of people, I come from a more prophetic background of seeing things in just similar to some of you guys, seeing things and feeling things, not just thinking through things. And I hung around a group of people that were always negative about everything. Everything that happened in the news. Oh my gosh, end of the world. It's going to happen. Oh my gosh, AI is coming in. We're doomed. And oh my goodness, the internet and all of these things over the years were negative. All we could see was the negative side. And I was programmed to think the negative side until one day I stopped and thought, why would this is not helping me. It doesn't feel good. How many of you feel great after you think negative? No. We just put more fear in us. It's more doom and gloom and, oh my goodness, what's going to happen tomorrow? And we overthink things because once you have that seed, it'll keep growing. But what if you turn that around and have something that you can flip to, rather than trying to stop negativity? Is like saying, I'll take it, I'll embrace it for just a second so I can flip it.
Mm.
And I can
I
flip it.
just thought of that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it's true. You've got to feel it. You've got to acknowledge it. You've got to know it's there. It's raised its ugly head.
Amen.
And then you do something about it.
Feel the fear and embrace it anyway. I love that. So, guys, I want you to remember that as we're talking about fear, it is a journey. It is overcoming fear is a process, and it's not going to happen overnight. But here's the next step I want you to think about. So here's a question. Johnny, what are you afraid of? And here's some. I want you to get your notepads out, and I want you to start thinking about this. Me, myself, and I. How many of you would be willing to say that? I'm actually most afraid of myself. What about myself am I afraid about? Am I afraid about my abilities or my inabilities? Am I afraid about my past poor choices? Am I afraid of my new responsibilities? Am I afraid about my calling and purpose? It's too big for me. Or my dreams and visions? It seems too impossible. Am I afraid about my weaknesses or even afraid about my strengths? What about my influences? People who influence me, am I afraid of what they would say if I did the right thing or the wrong thing? Or if I messed up? Am I afraid of my lack of direction or something other? And I want you to take a moment to look at these and put a number in the chat group if you're willing to, but also write this down for your own note taking and for yourself this week. Is what am I really afraid of? And obviously change the name from Johnny to your name. What are you afraid of? And confronting that I am afraid of myself. And so how do I overcome that? And then if you put in the chat group, what stands out to you? Could be a number of the numbers, or it could be something other. But what are you afraid of? My abilities, my inabilities, my past poor choices, my new responsibilities, my calling and purpose, my dreams and visions, my weaknesses, my strengths, my influences, my lack of direction, or something else. I'm going to give you a few minutes to just think about this, because that'll take us into the topic that I want to cover and start covering today. Once you've written it down, pop a number in the chat group if you're happy to share that with the rest of us. Again, this is not for us to judge anyone. This is quite the opposite. For as a family, that we're working through these situations that we're afraid of. For me, I'm just thinking maybe the other is that I'll put number 11. I'm sometimes the fear of rejection, could be failure. Of letting ourselves down or others. So if you got number 11, pop down what that other 11 is, you know. Awesome, Joanne. 11, what's that? 11, Philomena, 1, 2, 7, and 10. Beautiful. Thank you for being open and vulnerable. Be great to hear from maybe later on to hear from Philomena and Alice, if I've got the names right. I don't know you guys, so it'd be lovely to just know who you are. Fear of rejection by others. Yep, awesome. Margaret, 2 and 3. My abilities and my passport choices. Yep, awesome. Okay, so when we start to know some of these things, that helps us to overcome, because I'm going to just talk about another F word and a B word today. I will overcome this. Kingdom Capitalist, Nathan, number 4, my new responsibilities. Yeah, funny. I was thinking of that when I was typing that in. I was thinking of you. Yep, fear of that. Ross, 2 and 10, my inabilities, my lack of direction. Yeah, awesome. Hope you're feeling better, Ross. What about others? I want you to just do that. What's the sense for you? This is a bit deep, guys, but then it's going to get easier after this. 3 and 4, M, my passport choices, my new responsibilities. Emmy girl is Kemi girl with you. Can't see you guys today. 2 and 7, Mama Carol. Fear of being seen. April. All right. Good. That's number 11. Not good enough. Yeah, that's good. See, it's good, guys. You're starting to pick up some stuff. What am I afraid of? Not good enough. Yeah, that's powerful. This is important because these are the barriers to our success in wealth creation and in any area of our life. So you can see you can apply this to many things, but wealth, the psychology of how we create wealth is determined by what our belief system is. 11 rejection for Hiromi, 3 and 7 passport choices, weaknesses, lack of direction. Awesome. Thank you. Hyacinth, fear of doubt. Yeah, that's good. Good, son. Yeah, what about others? So just take time to look at this, because these are the powerful things that a lot of people don't want to deal with. And I like dealing with them now because they actually help us get rid of the things that are under the iceberg that we can't see sometimes, but we see the reactions on the top of the iceberg. All right. And some of you've seen me teach on iceberg. Maybe those who haven't, if you want me to teach on it, please put the word iceberg in there, because that really has been a big groundbreaking thing for a lot of people to realize. Yeah, there's stuff happening above the iceberg, but the problems are really underneath that. And if I can get a hold of that, then I can actually change the direction of my successes, and not have as many failures, or not feeling like I'm a failure as well. And not good enough was an interesting thing for me as well. I used to look back. I look back now and found that I was a lot more, and am a lot more successful than I give myself credit for, because I have a huge expectation over myself that I can't meet sometimes. And sometimes we can be like that. And so I've had to learn to be kind to myself. We got one person interested in the iceberg. Awesome. So guys, I want you to keep this in mind. Take a screenshot of this. Remind yourself of this. You know, what are you afraid of? What's stopping you? So that we can then look at the next thing, which is how do I replace the fear? And can I replace the fear with faith? And this is not a religious meeting in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter what belief you have, belief system, but that word faith is a very important system. And I want to push it forward. And because I come from a faith in who Jesus is in my life. And I love the scriptures. I love the scripture of wisdom to me is that in the day when I'm afraid, I will trust in you. And it's trusting in something and someone beyond myself. Okay. Who absolutely changes. It's a game changer for me because I'm not trusting just in myself. I trust myself because I trust in the one who created me. Okay. But I want to suggest to you, yeah, that's good, Emmanuel. 3, and what if my confidence fails as well? I want to suggest to you that a lot of people think I just replace fear by faith and that'll work. But then what is faith? You know that both fear and faith are not real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R. Maybe someone could write that down. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And faith, the definition of faith is something we cannot see, to trust in something or someone. Okay, it's the Bible calls it faith is the things unseen, the evidence of or the belief. You know, maybe someone could go to Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1. What is faith? The definition of faith, put that in. It's a substance of things not seen, the evidence of things still, hoped for. And so it's something that's not real, right? So faith and fear are not real, but both of them cannot stay in your mind together. One has to come and manifest itself. And so the way we create a manifestation of faith, guys, is very important, is through belief. Because faith is actually an on-off button. You either have it or you don't. And a lot of people think that faith is something that you have to increase in. So I want to talk about how you build the F word, the faith word, with belief. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today and why that's important. So how does faith work to overcome fear? Well, a lot of people think I just need to have more faith in what I'm going ahead and doing. That when I have fear, I'm just going to hope it's going to go, and I'm going to do things to make it go, and I'm just going to replace it. And so that's faith, right? Because you're believing in an outcome you haven't seen yet, and you're trying to get rid of that fear that you haven't experienced a freedom from yet. Make sense? All right. But faith is not an amount. Faith is actually a mustard seed. It's actually something you either have or you don't. And so a lot of people say, I need more faith. Or some people say, oh, you have so much more faith than I do. No, actually, faith is something you either do have or you don't have. And you only need the size of a mustard seed. And look what happens, guys. A seed has all it needs within it to produce. So I like this. I have a mustard seed and I'm not afraid to use it. All right. Because here's what happens when you plant faith of a mustard seed. Here's what it grows into. How amazing is this, guys? Right? That faith that we have, because everything, all the ingredients is within the seed, right? That tree did not come from anything else externally apart from it being planted in good soil. But the way it grew was not based on the soil, it was based on the DNA of that seed. Would you agree? So like that, faith is either you have it or you don't have it. Okay. And so how do I convert that, and how does that help me with wealth creation and get rid of my fears? Well, we said that faith is the opposite in a sense of fear, because both can't be occupied in your mind. But to journey in faith is to be able to produce. The producing is in the belief layer of faith. So faith has a layer called belief, and belief is the driver of all action. What does that mean? So let me put it another way. Faith is like a noun. You either have it or you don't have it. Belief is like a verb. And belief is how much belief do you have to see something take place. So if you look at this diagram here, the amount of belief you have determines the amount of potential you can tap into. So did you have faith to come into this program today, or did you come in with belief? And I'll give you a clue, because remember I said neither of them, faith is not real. So if anyone is here for the first time, it took faith for them to come here. But most of you here are not here for the first time, which means it took you belief, and your level of belief is increasing for you to keep coming back. How many of you would agree with that? Right? So it's not faith, it's belief, which is faith in action. Okay? And so once you have that amount of potential, the amount of potential you tap determines the amount of action you take. Some of you took action from last week about changing fear, but some of you didn't, right? Some of you forgot about this session as soon as we finished. That's why I said take notes, review your notes, put them in the chat group, start talking about in the chat group what you've learned. So I really recommend, Nathan, can I maybe encourage you, being a host today, is to really encourage everyone else to think about that faith, the fear and the belief today, right? And put it in the chat group, and maybe the next couple of days, and invite others to do that. Can I suggest that you add to that in April, because you guys, the three of you, are kind of hosting this together the last few sessions. Would you guys be willing to do that? And it's a challenge. Why? Because then it'll create something for yourselves, even if no one else responds. Like, guys, when I put stuff in the wealth creation group, it talks to me. When I put the video on today, the little clip, whether you looked at it or not, it's growing me. But for those who looked at it, it grows you too. Make sense? All right. Now, potential, when you take action, the amount of action you take determines the results you get. Agreed? If you keep turning up every time, you're going to get more results. If you keep engaging, you're going to get more results. All right. And then the results determine your level of belief again. So your belief has increased more. All right. Why is one of my wealth creations business without capital? Because I had a belief, I looked at the potential within it, and I put it into action, and the action produced results, and then I did it again, and I kept doing it over and over again. Why do I believe so much in property, and now in the crypto market, and now into the multi-level marketing and into networking? Because I had a belief, and I took it into potential, into action, produced results, and that increased my belief, and I did it over and over again, and I'm seeing results in it. Make sense? Now, all that happens in your mind. And from your mind is that level of belief that comes from faith. And when your belief and these are the practical steps that no one talks about, just have faith. No, don't just have faith. Faith needs to convert into belief, right? Why? Because faith is the seed. It has everything it needs in it to grow, but belief is you planting it. Once it's planted in the right soil, results are inevitable. Okay? How many of you have ever planted an orange seed and expected lemons to grow, or a lemon seed and expected oranges to grow? No, you plant a lemon tree. We have a lemon tree, a lime tree, and an orange tree in our backyard. We planted those, and we expect those to produce its kind of fruit. Everyone agree with that? So if you plant belief that is in a system that will get rid of your fear, you will grow in wealth. It's inevitable. And when problems come and hit you, you will change those. And so let me just encourage some people. Some people have the big picture. I was talking to someone the other day, and they had the big picture, and he has a huge, amazing potential, huge, amazing vision, but he's not been able to land traction on it. Why? Because it hasn't created there's no process. Have you ever heard of finish what you start? You know, I am a big believer of, now, whatever I start, I need to finish. If I'm starting to write a book, I need to finish that book. If I'm going to start to do a wealth creation program, I'm going to finish it. I was on a leadership earlier today, and I got on and nobody turned up. But I waited, because I waited till someone turned up, and then I ran with them. And a lot of leaders jump out and say, oh, well, no one turned up, I'll just go. No, I'm there. And I'll talk to you like as if I'm talking to the whole of all the leadership that turns up. Makes sense, right? Why? Because I have a huge level of belief in that I will serve the one who turns up, even if the others didn't. Now, I believe that we'll have 100 people here one day, but I'm going to serve the 15 that turn up every time. And I'm going to serve the 20 that turn up, and the 30 that turn up, and then the 50, and then the 100. But if I have to wait for 100 before I serve you, then my actions are not coherent with my belief. Makes sense? And if this is helping you, then I'm going to say, how do I multiply it so that we can take it out to more people? All right. Is this helping anyone? If it's helping you, I want you to understand. So big vision is great, but you have to land it. And landing it is to finish what you start. And if you have start too many things, they won't happen. But if you start once at a time, you'll start seeing it start to happen. Now, I have a lot of ideas, but I'm taking one and moving it and finishing that, then getting to the next one and finishing. Now, because I multitask, I have to stop myself, because like I've got 3 books I'm reading at the same time. And then today someone showed me another book. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to read that book. I'm going to finish reading what I've got first. I'm going to extract that information first, even if it takes me the whole year. That's important. Hey, Rossi, good to see you on. Me too, 3 books, yes. Okay. So beliefs transform faith in action. Beliefs transform faith in action. Oh, this is not the right slide. Okay. I want to talk about 3 things here. Number 1, beliefs will transform faith into action. That's the first thing. Beliefs are the most powerful drivers of all actions in human beings. Okay? Change your belief, you change everything. Chances are that if you are tripping over something over and over again, and obviously we're talking from wealth creation perspective, but this can be in your personal lives as well, relational lives, it can be in your health life. But if your wealth, you're continuously just tripping over yourself and never getting that, or trying something out and continuously bombing out, it could be because your belief system is tripping you up. And most likely 9 out of 10 times it is. That's your limiting factor. That's good news, guys. Why? Because it's you. You can change you. We can't change others, but we can change ourselves. Amen? All right? Beliefs are internalized. That's the first thing I want you to think about. Every action and decision we take driven by our beliefs lead to positive or negative outcomes. Every action. Every action we take and every decision we make are driven by our beliefs. And they lead to a positive or negative outcome. If an individual is unconscious about which belief are leading to miscommunication, relationship strain, and financial mess, it's natural to continue with same beliefs. It can lead to repeated losses on a regular basis if we're unconscious of it, if we're not aware of it. So the fact that last week we're talking about this F word, fear, and I just asked you to go revisit it, watch the video again. I don't have time. Make time. Why? Because this is going to change you. All right? Because if we can overcome fear and step into belief, we're going to see some amazing things take place at any level and every level. Like in January, we talked about ideas for our Project 61 business side of things. And then we started to dream, and then I started getting involved in opportunities and ideas, and I brought it back to the group and said, how do we manifest this into a process of taking our faith into a belief and actually having some businesses that can run, that can eventually produce for a nonprofit organization. And tell you what, guys, like 6 months on, like we are looking at multi-million-dollar opportunities that might take another 6 months, another year, 2 years, but we've been running Project 61 for 12 years. In 2 years' time, the phenomenal thing that we're going to get to where we can increase the value of our output and things that we're helping people with. At the moment, we need $2,000 to $4,000 a month. And I've reached out to people and said, hey, I'll put it in our chat group after, in our WhatsApp group as well. Here are the projects. If you want to sow in, come and sow. But imagine in 2 years' time having a budget of $20,000, $40,000, $80,000 to be able to help even more people. Imagine it running by itself. It's potentially possible. Now, what do I have to do? Take faith into belief and cultivate it. Okay. Number 2, beliefs can be changed. So what was number 1? Beliefs are internalized. And number 2 is beliefs can be changed. There is a universally agreed idiom, people don't change. It actually highlights the incompetence of majority of human population to stick to beliefs formed by default. A lot of our beliefs are formed by default at a very early stage of development. Those who internalize just few experiences of their life and turn them into beliefs etched in stone mostly don't attempt to challenge their beliefs and transform them. So I'm asking you to challenge your beliefs today and go on this journey for the next 6 months as we build success in our lives and we hear the success stories, and we're going to take some success stuff and we're going to see that change to dollar signs, an increase in dollar signs, is that we begin to challenge our beliefs. Okay. If an individual can frequently challenge his beliefs, he can experience a new world of opportunities. It is apparent that people can change if they choose to build their belief system constantly by design. Remember, I asked you before, are we designing our lives or just getting by? Are we saying it is what it is, or am I living by design? Okay. And I want to live by design. Challenging one's own beliefs is critical. One can also evaluate beliefs of others who are regularly dealing with to understand why they act the way they act. So I don't challenge another person's beliefs. I challenge mine and evaluate someone else's. Make sense? Because we can often challenge someone else. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing what you're doing? And I'm talking about in a leadership capacity. I'm just talking about in relationships. In leadership, we do challenge and mentor people as they give us permission to do that. But I'm talking about just in everyday life. We can challenge somebody else. Why did you do what you did? Rather than evaluate, oh, why did they do what they did? And why am I reacting the way I'm reacting? And challenge my belief system. If this is helping you, please pop a 2 in the chat group, right? If this is helping you. Thirdly, belief builds or destroys. Okay, so thirdly, belief builds or destroys. Beliefs are so powerful that they can build or destroy an individual, a family, an organization, a society, or even a nation. And that relates to your wealth as well. Beliefs can either increase your wealth or destroy your wealth creation. Okay. Individuals' beliefs impact his life journey and experiences every single day. Parents' beliefs impact children and influence their belief orientation. Organizational leaders' belief system thoroughly impacts an entire organization and its culture. Social and political leaders' beliefs constitution influences social change, policy making, national values, governance, and many other dimensions of a society and the nation. Is that making sense to you guys? The power of our beliefs. The power of our beliefs. Okay. So I know this is pretty hardcore the last 2 weeks, but I told you July is going to be hardcore. We're going to start hitting this. Doesn't matter if you're just new here or you've been running with me. This is hardcore stuff. Why? Because you don't hear this from other places. Okay, I have not heard this from other places. This is material that I've just been working through to just give you guys that place of how do I overcome fear, but translate it to belief. Because when I overcome fear through faith, it has to now be grounded in belief and challenging my belief systems. So I want you guys to look at number one this week. How do I go back and try and internalize what am I believing? Why did I react the way I reacted? What am I believing? 2, can I change those beliefs? And just being able to come to a place where I can say, can I change those beliefs? I was talking to someone today. How many of you have an aversion to debt? Like if it's like me, I don't like debt. But all of a sudden, I'm getting into debt with my properties because I've been challenged that why would I want to exit this earth having paid off my home rather than using my home's equity to build more equity and more equity and more equity? Would I want to leave this earth? And I want to ask you this challenge to you guys. Do you want to leave this earth with one property fully paid for, or leave this earth and leave the legacy to your family with 20 properties that are not fully paid for, but producing 10 times more income than one property would? Tell me in the chat group which you'd prefer. All right. And one includes going into debt. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm evaluating this through my value system of I owe nobody anything but a debt of love. If I gave Emmanuel some money, or I asked Emmanuel, sorry, for some money, and I borrowed money from him, 10,000 USD, I said, Emmanuel, can I borrow 10,000 USD? I'll pay you back. Then I owe him nothing but a debt of love. Why? Because I need to pay him back. Because of what? Relationship. But guys, if I borrow from the bank, does the bank want me to pay them back completely? Not at all. Now, if I'm paying the bank 7% interest, 8% interest, and I can use the debt from there to go and generate 20% in profits and 30% in profits, and I'm still servicing the bank 7%. Is the bank upset with me? No, they're getting what they need, and they're happy that I'm not closing the debt off. But now I'm using debt to produce more. Are you guys getting this? Making sense? So only a few of you have answered this, but which is more important? One property paid for completely. Like, why are we working excuse my language, our asses off to try and pay something, kill yourself to pay off a mortgage? I was talking to someone today, and he's like, I just need to pay off my mortgage because my family's in shambles. I'm going to work hard to pay. Like, why? And instead of that, be vigilant enough to start to accumulate wealth and leave this earth with maybe 10 properties. Okay, maybe some of you can't even imagine 20. Let's do 10. Let's do 5. Let's do 3 properties that are not fully paid for, that are going to produce an income that is 4 times more than one property that would just to be in your family home that you passed down that has to be sold anyway. Which would you prefer? But one requires you to get into debt, but it's not a debt to a relational person. If I borrowed some money from Hiromi or from Mama Carol or from Ross or from Rubika, and then I would pay it back because I don't want to be in debt to anyone, right? Dream big or go home. I like that. Number 2, belief builds. Number 3, belief builds or destroys. We have to make that decision, my choice. All right. Is my belief building me or destroying me? So I want you to think. Some of you have made some advances in your wealth creation in the last 6 months. Do you believe it's because you changed your beliefs? Some of you made some advances in your wealth creation. Do you believe it's because you changed your belief system? Yes or no? Or IDK, I don't know if you don't know. And some of you are still stuck in some things that you really want to see an overcoming of. And is it possible that your belief system is destroying you, is putting a hold on things? Okay. And I want you to think about that because it's really important in our journey. All right, guys. Oh, I got one more slide to show you before we finish. This is a good slide. The next step in freedom. Okay. Why are we saying all this? Because it's the next step in freedom. This is the next step that we take and journey into freedom. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. How's everyone feeling? Let me hear from a few of you. Just take my spotlight off so I can see everyone.
Hey, Rueben.
Hello, Joanne.
I'm gonna take my camera off. Yeah, hang on. I got the camera off.
She's
Sorry,
back.
I'm in my that hit the nail on the head for me.
Awesome.
Really much. Really, really, really hit the head. Like on the nail. Definitely. That was it's the belief system. It's definitely the belief system. So I think that's where I get stuck in, and that's just opened my eyes.
Good.
It's really good. Yeah. Because I believe it, but do I believe it? Like, if you know what I mean, you know what I'm saying? Do I believe, like I say I believe it, but then internally, do I really believe it? So that's a doubt in myself. So which is actually like, change the belief system and how I perceive it and see it, and how I'm going to move forward to actually take the steps to activate it.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you.
Welcome.
What about one more person or 2 more people? What have you caught from what we've just said? Don't be shy.
I'll just say that I'm quite happy with 3 properties, Rueben.
Woo, let's go. In debt, yeah. Producing income. That's a massive change for Margaret. Every time I'd share that.
I've got that on my mind a lot, 2 or 3 properties, but I can't go as far as 20. If I was 20 years younger, maybe, but not at this age.
Margaret, I'm going to celebrate with
Anyway,
you.
anything's possible.
And those who know Margaret, we're going to celebrate with her, because Margaret, when I used to talk about property, was no, I got to sell one, buy the next. And for her to even just say 3 properties producing, I can check out of this earth with debt. It's okay. It's not going to kill anyone. Okay. I mean, it is exciting. So well done, Margaret. So now we can get 20 can happen. If you can get to 3, you can get to 20. All right. That's the excitement, guys. Okay. I'm very, very proud of you. See, look at each one just started see some things happening. So guys, we're going to go into overtime for today. Normally it's an hour. Sometimes we do an hour and a half. We're going to go into overtime. I'm going to break up into groups. I want you to break up into groups, and I want you to do this. I want you to share within the group what you got from today. It's a group of 5. And if you feel you're not comfortable to share, it's all right. You can just type in and say, guys, I'm not comfortable. But I really love you guys to just also just, if you have someone in your group that you haven't seen before, just introduce yourself to them, invite them. So I'm going to pop you guys in a group. I'm going to open all the rooms, and I'd love you all to participate. So those who've been with us all this time, no excuse, participation is very important. For those who are visitors, that's all right. Joanne, you're not a visitor, but I'm just thinking of more Philomena and Alice. We haven't met you yet, but Philomena, I'm seeing you put on the chat group. So awesome. Thank you for being on. And I want you guys just for about 10 minutes in the chat